So I made this track probably 4-5 years ago when I didn't have this hardware setup. It's not jungle, obviously not drum and bass, but the basis of the track is breaks, because I've always loved breaks more than, this kind of track is something I used to do a lot more. It sounds a lot more authentic and more original because, let's face it, drum and bass and jungle, the way like the 90s jungle, when we still do it, it's basically just recycled ideas, and it doesn't offer anything new rather than just, the extension of the same sound. And it gets boring after a while. I like to experiment, I like to do things, I loved to do things, and I would love to get back to that, doing things that are more like original. That sounds like nothing else, nobody else. I mean, at least for me, like the stuff that I'm gonna show you right now, it doesn't sound like anything else. Well, at least to me, because I don't know who makes that kind of music. So basically, what it is what I love doing with this kind of music is telling a story through sounds, through arrangements. It's not like something is very repeating, but rather when you start the track and by the time it finishes, it has told a story, and it doesn't have too many repeating parts. The basis of these tracks are always breaks, always drums, rhythms. And when I do my drums, I try to program them in such a way that, for example, if the track is like 4 to 5 minutes long, then every single pattern of drums is not repeating. So basically programming in that way that it's always different, and then I've got some changes happening and stuff. So technically the drums I program with Fruity Loops. Fruity Loops is a program that I've been using early on in my when I just started making music. It allows me to do those sort of complex break programmings a lot easier than using the pen in piano roll. That's good for jungle, but if I want something more, kind of stuff, I use Fruity Loops, and then I just imported that into Reason. I've used some more soft scenes to add some melodies and stuff, and then just stacked a lot of sounds. And then I've exported those as stems for the mixing. So initial Mixdown was done in the box, but since I've got the ability to mix on the outboard, I just wanted to rerun the Mixdown again and see how it sounds. How different it sounds? But basically just to have fun. And I had to, originally the track had probably 15, 16 tracks. I had to do the subgroups and then export them in a total of 8 stems. And without further ado, I just want to show you how the track sounds when it runs through, when it's been mixed on the mixing desk, using mixing desk's EQs, saturation, outboard compression, and outboard effects. It's basically just to add a note that any music can be done inside of a computer, and there is really no need to use any outboard anymore. I mean, we're being a bit geeky, that's why we go to the extra length to invest in hardware and make music with the hardware, but generally it doesn't really matter what the track is made on. Because when people listening to the tracks, they usually go for the overall vibe, whether they like it or not, and they don't really care whether it was made with a piece of hardware or a piece of software, what kind of EQ did we use and stuff. So generally it's up to you. Music making is supposed to be fun, and I sometimes like to use hardware because I just feel fun, but after a while I get bored of that, and I don't mind making some tracks inside of a computer until the point comes when I'm just a little bored with that. So I go back to making music with hardware, and it's just like never-ending game. Quick note that I forgot to tell is that when working completely in the box, there's a lot of automation. It's just basically you program stuff and you run the Mixdown, and you got it like how you want it. Every time the same. But when you do Mixdown within on a hardware mixing desk, if there's some sort of automation needed to be done, like For example, what I love to do is, you know, panning things left and right sometimes, adding some effects maybe. So all of that is done live. The automation is done live when you're doing the mixdown. And after you did the mixdown, you like record it back to your computer, and then you think that some stuff doesn't sound right, so you run it again and you do all those things again, and they're not coming out the same as the previous time. So that has some sort of bit of a life involvement. I mean, it already becomes a bit of a jam, which has improvisation aspect to it. So it's kind of fun. Obviously, these things take time. It's a lot faster to just automate everything in whatever DAW you're using, and then just run the mixdown. And if you think that something needs to be adjusted, readjusted, like readjusted like EQ and stuff, and then you run back and then again, and then all the automation stays the same. And when you do it on a live mixing desk, you just always have to.
1 hour later.
One thing I forgot to mention that I know you probably some of you might have questions. How do I send my stems, my sounds from my computer into the mixing desk for mixing? So basically I've got the sound card. It's pretty small, pretty cheap. That allows me to send digital stems, like inside the Reason or any other DAW. If you use it, you can route the signal to the dedicated inputs of the sound card, and then through the cables you connect from the sound card's outputs to the mixing desk inputs, and you basically do the mixing. So yeah.